Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Source 16 News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eddie Owen. Well, topping our news, US 41A in Hopkins County was shut down for hours today, and an unidentified man was life-flighted to a hospital after a Kentucky Transportation Cabinet dump truck and a pickup truck crashed head-on. Around 11 o'clock, the driver of the 1996 Chevrolet pickup truck was northbound on US 41A, just north of Manitou, when state police say he crossed the center line and collided head-on into the dump truck driven by 22-year-old Jonathan Pearson of Sturgis. State Police spokesman Stu Recchi told Source 16 that the driver of the pickup truck was flown to a hospital in the Evansville area. He told Source 16 that there were conflicting reports regarding the driver's name, and the man had been flown from the scene before troopers were able to get his identity. Police report the driver of the dump truck, Pearson, was not injured in the wreck. Motorists were detoured around the wreck scene, and US 41A was reopened to traffic around 3:30 this afternoon. Meanwhile, a Hopkinsville man was taken to a Nashville hospital after a motorcycle versus vehicle head-on collision on Fort Campbell Boulevard this afternoon. Hopkinsville Police spokesman Officer Paul Ray told Source 16 News that the motorcyclist, 20-year-old Stephen Garabrandt Jr., was transported by ambulance to Jenny Stewart Medical Center and was being transferred to Vanderbilt Medical Center for a serious leg injury. Ray said the wreck occurred around 1 o'clock when 33-year-old Amanda Mosley of Crofton pulled out of the Pennyrile Finance parking lot into the center turn lane to travel north on the boulevard and collided head-on with Garabrandt, who was driving south. According to Ray, Mosley and her passenger were not injured in the wreck. Well, the Hopkinsville Christian County Chamber of Commerce hosted a Small Business Awards breakfast today and recognized 12 local businesses for their services. The businesses that were recognized this morning included Model Cleaners, who received the Century Award for 100 years of service, WBW Engineering, who received the Commercial Construction Award. Pennyrile Electric was awarded the Distribution Award. In addition, Harper House Restaurant received the Horizon Award. MSSC was awarded the Industrial Award, while Smith's Concrete received the Residential Construction Award. Meanwhile, Bikes and More received the Retail Award. Charlie's Steakhouse received the Retail and Food Service Award, and Creative Travel Agency was given the Service Award. Also, the Special Services Award went to Pennyrile Radiology, and the Sunset Award went to Buck's Ladies Shop, and finally, the Nonprofit Award went to the Boys and Girls Club of Hopkinsville Christian County. The breakfast was sponsored by Source 16's parent company, New Wave Communications.
Also, and we recognize small business. That's part of our business, is providing residential phone, commercial phone, and commercial internet. So it's very important to us. That's part of our business.
According to Chamber President Carter Hendricks, small businesses make up 80% of the Chamber's membership. A local previously convicted felon who violated his supervised release was sentenced in federal court today for drug trafficking and possessing a firearm. Now, according to U.S. Attorney David Hale, 32-year-old Bobby Lee Wooden Jr. of Hopkinsville was sentenced to 46 months imprisonment for possession of a controlled substance with the intent to traffic and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. In addition, Wooden was sentenced to 24 months imprisonment for committing the offenses while on supervised release. U.S. District Judge Thomas Russell ordered the sentences to be served consecutively. Wooden served 4 years supervised release and forfeit over $12,000 and personal items, including a .25 caliber pistol. Court records indicated that on April 14, 2010, in Hopkinsville, about 20 pounds of marijuana and a Raven Arms .25 caliber pistol were found in Wooden's apartment. At the time, court records indicated that Wooden was a convicted felon on supervised release, having been convicted on July 24, 2006 of conspiracy to distribute marijuana in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee. In addition, court records indicated Wooden had 2 additional felony convictions in Christian County Circuit Court for trafficking in cocaine and trafficking in marijuana within 1,000 yards of a school. A Hopkinsville man was sentenced to spend a decade behind bars. Christian County Circuit Court Judge Andrew Self formally sentenced 36-year-old Michael Mosby to 10 years in prison for second-degree manslaughter, which will run concurrently with another unrelated charge of a convicted felon possessing a handgun. As previously reported by Source 16, Mosby was involved in the February 2009 shooting death of Desmond Welch of Crofton. Michael Mosby entered a guilty plea in September to second-degree manslaughter, which under his plea deal granted him a 10-year sentence. Meanwhile, Mosby's co-defendant, Maurice Lane, was sentenced to 5 years in prison, while Robert Lewis was sentenced to 20 years in prison for their roles in the murder. In addition, Philip Green, who was the last of the 4 individuals involved in the murder, took a plea deal last month for a 2-year prison sentence for failing to report Welch's death and for driving the getaway vehicle. A request to downsize Mayfield's City Council has been rejected once again. Councilman Wayne Potts requested to reduce the council from 10 to 7 members during last night's meeting, saying that it will save the city money.
I'm for smaller government. This will not adversely affect the budget. Should all council members attend all the training and all the KLC meetings, it would cost about $10,000 a year for each council member to go to these. If we reduce it by 3, that's $30,000.
But council members fired back, saying they represent the community well and do their best by serving on multiple committees.
As you look around this room right here now, as a council member, you see a good mixture of everybody. And I think we represent the people of the city well, because we've got so many boards now, things that we own. You know, I'm on 3 myself, representing the city. So if you reduce the number of council members, you're going to have to put more people on these boards. So, I like the way it is now.
The ordinance was rejected by the council in an 8-2 vote, with Councilman Potts and Councilman Jonathan Stinson voting for the change. Potts made the same request 6 years ago. The council also gave Mayfield City Attorney Boyd Neely the authorization to pursue legal action against a former Mayfield police officer. The officer broke the contract with the department when he or she decided to relocate. If a contract is broken, prorated pay is expected. No payments have been made since the officer left. The council also gave Neely authorization to pursue legal action against 3 post office workers that have neglected to pay payroll taxes for several years. Payroll taxes aren't automatically taken out of Mayfield Post Office employee paychecks. Well, after canceling his book signing at the last minute 2 weeks ago due to bad weather in Dallas, former President George W. Bush will be revisiting Fort Campbell this week. Tomorrow morning, the former president will be signing hundreds of copies of his best-selling memoir, Decision Points, to local troops and their families. The former president visited Fort Campbell 3 times during his presidency. Well, imagine if we lived in a world where we were more compassionate toward others. Tibetan Buddhist monk Sering Phunsak told Murray State University students and faculty yesterday that's what he's devoted his life to. Michelle Herron has more.
Phunsak recommended that if everyone was more compassionate towards each other and tried to relieve each other's suffering, communities would prosper.
And the cause of suffering. Cause of suffering, you have to find through the analyze. Yeah, what is the cause of suffering?
He also gave demonstrations of how him and his fellow monks remind people not to be selfish. Phunsak has been a Tibetan Buddhist monk for 23 years in India and also explained his daily routine at the monastery. He also explained the core of Buddhism and its notions of compassion, love, and meditative practices that worked well with the theme of Valentine's Day. Michelle Herron, Source 16 News.
Fort Campbell's Currahees are locked and loaded with a new weapon. Military officials say the local soldiers recently incorporated the M67 recoilless rifle into their squads. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Fushi of Columbus, Georgia says, "We chose to utilize the 90mm because we wanted a high-volume weapon that would provide low collateral damage." According to officials, the M67 is a lightweight, portable crew-served weapon designed primarily to be fired from the ground, but it may be fired from the shoulder. The M67 was also used during the Vietnam War. Well, volunteers are needed for Saturday's 20th annual Black History Trivia Bowl. Human Relations Commission member Corey Wadlington is encouraging any individual interested in volunteering at the event to contact her at 270-887-4010. Meanwhile, officials have just announced the teams participating in the Trivia Bowl. The 18 teams currently registered for the bowl include All Nations House of Prayer, Christian County High School, 5th Ward Missionary Baptist Church, Fort Campbell High School, Greater Missionary Baptist Church, Mahaffey Middle School, and Northeast High School. In addition, Paducah Middle School, Rossview High School, St. John Missionary Baptist Church, Todd County High School, Wassam Middle School, and West Creek High School will be participating in the event. The event is hosted by the Hopkinsville Human Relations Commission and Hopkinsville Community College in celebration of Black History Month. Well, a recent traffic stop landed a Benton woman behind bars facing drug charges. According to a Marshall County Sheriff's report released today, a deputy in the Benton Police Department stopped 52-year-old Susan Puckett of Benton at the intersection of 5th Street and Powell Street in Benton. Puckett was arrested and charged with public intoxication on a controlled substance, prescription of a controlled substance not in its proper container, and failure to notify the Department of Transportation of an address change. She was booked into the Marshall County Jail. And tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is $40 million. Wednesday's Powerball jackpot, $101 million.